Jesus was always intentional. He's always intentional. There's a song that says he's intentional. It's very true. He's very purposeful in his ministry. When you look at everything he did, it's for a reason. Sometimes we know the miracles, we know the stories, but we don't always know the events that led up to it or the context in which it happened. So today we're going to take a closer look at scripture and see if we can discover something new. So we're looking at St. John chapter 6. That's St. John chapter 6. And I'm going to begin at verse 2. So it says, "And a great multitude followed him, because they saw his miracles which he did on them that were diseased." So basically, Jesus is healing persons, and so people are seeing, and there's this crowd that's following, and the crowd's getting bigger and bigger, and so now you have this multitude of persons that are following Jesus. And if we look down at verse 4, it says, "And the Passover, a feast of the Jews, was nigh." So this is Passover time. Now verse 5 is where the story really starts to pick up. So it says, "When Jesus then lifted up his eyes, and saw a great company come unto him, he saith unto Philip, When shall we buy bread, that these may eat? And this he said to prove him, for he himself knew what he would do." Now I'm a basketball fan, and I like to play basketball. Now when we're playing basketball, we have something called the alley-oop, right? Now the alley-oop is when one person has the ball and they're coming down, dribbling, and then they throw the ball, but they're not shooting, they're just throwing it close to the rim. And then another player will catch that ball close to the rim and dunk it. So one person throws it close to the rim, the other person catches it and finishes it. Now if you're really good, you can give yourself an alley-oop. You may have the ball and you throw it off the backboard, and then you catch it off the backboard and you give yourself an alley-oop. So here, Jesus is giving the alley-oop to himself. He's setting up himself to do something amazing. So he asks Philip, "Hey, do we have enough money to feed everybody? Do we have enough food?" Philip says, "No, Lord, we don't have enough money to feed everybody." Andrew says, "We only have 5 loaves and 2 fishes. Now in verse 10, Jesus gives the instruction, "Tell the men to sit down." Now remember earlier we established that this was Passover time. Now some persons believe that the Passover would be taken standing up, because standing up while eating implies that you're in a rush. Have you ever been late for work and you want to get in a quick bite before you leave the house? You don't sit down on the dinner table. You stand up and you try to get something in real quick. Well, the Israelites were in Egypt, and when they're taking the Passover, they were dressed and ready to leave Egypt. So it wasn't a comfortable meal, it was a hasty meal. And so persons believed that the Passover was taken standing up. Now God is telling the men, sit down. You're not in Egypt right now. You're in the presence of the Son of God. Sit down. Now we know the story. Jesus broke the bread and everybody got full, 5,000, and they took up the remainder. Jesus didn't want to waste anything, and there are 12 baskets full. So we're going to pick up after that story. So after everybody was fed, Jesus went into a mountain to be by himself. That night the disciples went onto a boat, they went onto the sea. Jesus walked on water, and then they went to the other side. So we're going to pick up the following morning, and we're picking up at verse 24. So it says, "When the people therefore saw that Jesus was not there, neither his disciples, they also took shipping and came to Capernaum, seeking for Jesus." So they woke up in the morning and they're looking for Jesus. They don't see him. They don't see his disciples. So they go across the sea as well. "And when they had found him on the other side of the sea, they said unto him, Rabbi, when camest thou hither? Jesus answered them and said, Verily, verily, I say unto you, ye seek me, not because ye saw the miracles, but because ye did eat of the loaves and were filled. Labor not for meat which perisheth, but for that meat which endureth unto everlasting life, which the Son of Man shall give unto you. For him hath God the Father sealed." So these people came following Jesus because they wanted more bread. They wanted more bread. These people wanted more bread. Now, I mean, wanting bread isn't that bad. But look at verse 30. It says, "They said therefore unto him, What sign showest thou then, that we may see and believe thee? What doth thou work? Our fathers did eat manna in the desert, as it was written, He gave them bread from heaven to eat. Now these are the same persons, the same 5,000 that Jesus just fed with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes. And they're asking, what work are you going to do? What miracle are you going to do to prove to us? What are you going to do for us, Lord? What are you going to do? Where's the manna at? Our forefathers ate manna. Where's our manna? Let's go. But remember when I said that Jesus is always intentional? He's always intentional. His alley-oop is going to set up an even bigger alley-oop, because this is the point that Jesus wanted to get to. Verse 32, it says, Then Jesus said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, Moses gave you not that bread from heaven, but my Father giveth you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is he which cometh down from heaven, and giveth life unto the world. So earlier Jesus was setting this whole thing up. He asked Philip, do we have any money? Can we feed these people? That set up the miracle where he fed 5,000. But he knew these people, and they would take ships and go across the sea. We want more bread. So Jesus could tell them, I am the bread of life. Jesus always spoke the language of the persons he was trying to reach. When he spoke to the fishermen, he told them, I will make you fishers of men. When he spoke to the rich young ruler, he said, stir up treasure in heaven. When he spoke to the woman at the well, he said, I am the living water. And when he was around these bread-loving people, he wanted them to know, I am the bread of life. The Apostle Paul says, I am made all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. Let us do the same as we win souls for the kingdom.